Now, I will agree that I definitely take issue with a number of decisions that Donald Trump makes, especially when it comes to the people that he decides to appoint to very important positions, including this one, because I did have to make sure that I wasn't going crazy. But when I say that you are the least qualified FBI director in the history of the FBI, that is real, because you are the only one that never even served with the FBI prior to joining, yet we are supposed to believe that you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. I didn't ask you a question. When people sit around and say things like, oh, you know, we're happy because now we feel safe, I don't know who feels safe in this country except for the white supremacists, because I specifically as a black woman definitely don't feel safe. I don't have any confidence in you. And honestly, I've not heard anything out of you today that makes me believe that you're going to do anything about the white supremacy problem, the one that is leading to children being killed, children being shot, as well as members of their community as they're worshiping in their churches.
Right from the very first moments of that explosive hearing, Jasmine Crockett didn't hold back. Watch Kash Patel's face the instant she says it. She looked him dead in the eyes and called him the least qualified FBI director in history, and she is absolutely right. This man has never spent a single day inside the FBI. No badge, no field experience, no cases, nothing. Yet Trump placed him in charge of the most powerful law enforcement agency on earth. While real agents endure brutal background checks, psychological evaluations, lie detectors, and years of hellish training, Patel skipped every single step, all because of one thing: blind loyalty.
I am living the American dream. And anyone that thinks the American dream is dead, just look right here. You're talking to a first-generation Indian kid who's about to lead the law enforcement community, the greatest nation on God's green earth. That can't happen anywhere else.
And now, as Crockett warned, only white supremacists feel safe in this country? As a black woman, she said she doesn't feel safe at all, and millions of Americans share that same chilling fear. Children are being gunned down, churches turned into war zones, and under Patel's watch, the FBI stays dangerously silent. What the hell is really happening inside the Bureau? How much danger are we all in? What secrets is he hiding? What happens to America when the fox is guarding the henhouse? Hold on tight, because Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett just dropped a bombshell that left the entire room stunned. Watch this explosive moment where she says what nobody else had the guts to say straight to his face. You won't believe what comes next.
Now, what I want to go through is to talk about why you are a failure and why, honestly, we just need to tell you bye-bye. I know that you got a little upset and you put on your show for your boss because it seems like you're trying to save your job when it came to talking to Senator Booker yesterday. But let's go through some of your failures. So before you were even confirmed, and I think one of my colleague from Georgia, pointed out that you were already targeting career officials so that you could direct illegal firings. Mind you, these cases that you were so upset about, which are the ones tied to Trump, the cases came through his handpicked FBI director. And frankly, when people sit around and say things like, oh, you know, we're happy because now we feel safe, I don't know who feels safe in this country except for the white supremacists, because I specifically as a black woman definitely don't feel safe. And frankly, my colleagues have been real nice to you today, and I applaud them, but I don't have the same demeanor because I know that multiple colleagues on this side of the aisle have faced death threats. In fact, somebody tried to kill one of my colleagues, and frankly, I don't know if this FBI or under your leadership, if those people would have been caught.
Crockett just tore the mask off Patel's entire operation, and the picture she painted is far worse than anyone expected. Before he was even officially confirmed, this so-called director was already hunting career FBI professionals not for misconduct, but for the crime of not being loyal enough to Trump. That's textbook weaponization, turning the Bureau from a law enforcement body into a personal instrument of political revenge. Senator Durbin cited whistleblower accounts of Patel's direct involvement in that purge during the transition. Career agents who'd spent decades building major cases suddenly found their names on a list. Even the FBI Agents Association, a group that had welcomed his confirmation, was forced to sue to protect its own members. Meanwhile, families were receiving death threats and living in terror, while Patel reallocated agents away from domestic extremism investigations to chase immigration targets instead. Qualified experts pushed out, replaced by loyalists, creating a staffing crisis so severe it will reportedly take over a decade to fix. That's not leadership, that's sabotage. And here's the detail almost nobody talks about. Patel's own hand-picked deputy, Dan Bongino, walked in with the exact same problem, zero FBI experience. He spent his career as a Secret Service agent, then a podcaster, then a Fox News commentator, two of the most powerful law enforcement seats in the country, filled by men who had never run a single FBI case between them. Journalist Mark Fisher, who profiled Patel for The New Yorker, put it plainly on NPR's Fresh Air. Patel got the job on loyalty and a willingness to pursue Trump's perceived enemies, not credentials. Fisher describes an FBI reshaped around antagonism instead of investigation, something the Bureau has never seen before. When Crockett says she has zero confidence in this FBI to protect her colleagues, she's not being dramatic. She's issuing a dire warning. Watch what she reveals next. She came armed with receipts.
I don't have any confidence in you. And if we start talking about the reasons that I lack confidence, we could start with you not just wanting to acknowledge some simple facts. Simple facts like the vast majority of the threats are coming from right-wing extremism. And I know my colleagues have tried to stress this, but I decided that I would maybe do it in a different way. Number one, I have a couple of UCs. Kim Buck, one of multiple Republicans receiving death threats for voting against Jim Jordan as House Speaker.
Without objection.
Another one, Republican lawmaker says she received death threats after voting against Jim Jordan in Speaker's race.
Without objection.
In addition, there was another one from another colleague who now is leaving Congress because they said that they were calling his wife anonymously and threatening her life to the extent that she ended up sleeping with a firearm.
Without objection.
Okay. So here's the deal. How are we supposed to have confidence when you're sitting up here telling the Senate yesterday that it will take you 14 years before you can get the FBI fully staffed to do their jobs? You're also now redirecting resources so that they can go and play ICE agents on the streets. You're getting rid of your most qualified people. And even when it came down to somebody that you consider to be a friend, you were posted up having some fancy dinner to the extent that you posted not only once erroneously, you posted twice erroneously as it relates to catching somebody, and then you want to go and say, let me take a victory lap, because honestly, if it wasn't for parents deciding that they were going to turn in their child, it seems like y'all wouldn't have got there, even though he literally confessed online. So I'm confused about what it is that the FBI is doing except for trying to put on a show for The Apprentice, or whatever you want to call him. The day after all of this took place, there was domestic terrorism that was taking place at HBCUs. They were targeted. Yet I didn't hear anything from the FBI about what was going on. And again, black people kept saying, how did we end up in this? Because the numbers are so very clear that white supremacy is a problem. And honestly, I've not heard anything out of you today that makes me believe that you're going to do anything about the white supremacy problem. The one that is leading to children being killed, children being shot, as well as members of their community as they're worshiping in their churches.
14 years. Sit with that number. Patel told the Senate it would take 14 years to fully staff the FBI, not a hiccup. An admission that the agency responsible for federal law enforcement is running a skeleton crew for the foreseeable future, while pulling experienced agents off domestic terrorism cases to chase immigration targets instead. Reporting cited in an MS Now opinion piece backs this up. The Bureau has cut its workforce by roughly 6% under Patel, redirecting remaining agents away from work like gun crime investigations. So while he tells Congress full staffing is over a decade away, the threats Crockett describes aren't abstract Republican lawmakers who voted against Jim Jordan faced anonymous calls threatening their wives, forcing them to sleep with loaded firearms for protection. That's the real cost of misplaced priorities. Now notice what Crockett does with the victory lap. She doesn't deny the arrest happened. She points out Patel posted about it twice, got the facts wrong both times, and took credit for a capture his own agency. Didn't actually make the family turn their own son in after he confessed online. And the very next day, domestic terrorists struck HBCUs. The FBI's response? Silence. No alerts, no press conference, nothing leaving black communities asking why their safety keeps being ignored. Up next, Patel finally responds, and you need to hear how he tries to defend it.
Well, I'll respond. Kash Patel, as I said when I introduced him, public defender, former prosecutor, top staffer on the House Intelligence Committee, deputy director of national intelligence with the National Security Council, chief of staff at the Department of Defense, and FBI director. I think that's a pretty good resume for the guy who's now running the top law enforcement agency in our country, and we've seen all the stats that he's given to the committee on how much better they're doing at getting the bad guys than the previous guy was doing. With that, I recognize the gentleman from South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, I think you're witnessing some auditions, clickbait auditions for the Academy Award for my Democratic colleagues. We'll see how they fare as they're on MSNBC later on today. Do you care, before I launch into my line of questioning, to respond to Ms. Crockett from Texas on that very elaborate and theatric display?
Here's what I've learned in my government service. I don't give a damn what they say about me as long as I'm succeeding in the mission. We're succeeding in the mission because the men and women of the FBI have never been empowered to do more work and to hit the streets harder than by President Trump's authorities and resources he's given us. And so all I care about is that we are capturing more child predators than ever before, taking more drugs off the streets than ever before, that we are capturing murderers at a significantly historic rate, and we're delivering this country the lowest murder rate in recorded history. That are facts that you cannot dispute. But you can come at me all you want. I don't care.
And there it is. Kash Patel didn't break down in tears, but he completely broke down in substance. When Jasmine Crockett finished dismantling his leadership with facts and receipts, the chairman had to step in and read Patel's resume out loud for him like a lawyer defending a client who couldn't speak for himself. That single moment told you everything you needed to know. Then came Patel's response. I don't give a damn what they say about me as long as I'm succeeding in the mission. He rattled off stats about child predators, drugs, and murder rates, then capped it with the now infamous line, "That are facts that you cannot dispute." The director of the FBI on national television made a basic grammar error while claiming his numbers were beyond question. It wasn't just embarrassing, it was revealing. Because the truth is, Patel had no real answers for Crockett. He didn't address the 4-year staffing crisis. He didn't explain why experienced agents were being pulled off domestic terrorism cases. He didn't acknowledge the death threats against lawmakers or the silence after domestic terrorism hit HBCUs. He just waved at vague stats and declared victory. That's not leadership. That's deflection from a man who knows the real story inside the bureau is falling apart. Watch what just happened there. Crockett spent minutes laying out specific, sourced accusations. Career officials targeted before confirmation. Colleagues receiving death threats, HBCUs attacked with zero public response. And Patel's